Welcome to It's the Groove, the podcast that takes you under the wrapper to uncover the hidden connections in the music we love. I'm your co-host Dave, and as always, I'm joined by the 80s music muse herself, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here with the BFF and Dave.
The way I have the our photos, it looks like Faith is the rose between the two thorns. So welcome back to It's the Groove, Faith.
Well, thank you both for having me back. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, BFF.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about today's guest because she's not only the friend of the show, she's been my friend for over 40 years. Truly, we share a lifetime of memories. The brilliant Faith Pennick is back with us. Faith is an author, a filmmaker, and my concert buddy, and one of my favorite people to talk music with. She's joined us 3 times already, twice to celebrate the genius of Rod Temperton, and once for the legendary Is Steely Dan Yacht or Not debate with Dave. And of course, we couldn't resist sharing our favorite Steely Dan songs during that episode. She has written a book called Voodoo about D'Angelo's iconic album. It's part of Bloomsbury's Publishing's 33 and the Third book series about popular music. If you haven't read it, you absolutely should. And you can explore more of Faith's incredible work on her website. I will put the link in the show notes. So today, we're diving into one of Faith's favorite albums, Peter Gabriel's So. I remember her talking endlessly about this album when we were teenagers. She's going to take us back into her history with the album, what So meant to her then, what it means to her now, and the stories behind a few of her favorite tracks. Trust me, the way Faith breaks down this album, you are going to hear these songs differently after this episode. So we're really happy to have her as part of this conversation. Welcome, Faith.
Thank you again, Kelly and Dave. No pressure at all. And hi, everybody. I am here to talk about So, the 5th album from the musical genius Peter Gabriel. Many of you are probably familiar, unless you're super young, you're probably familiar with his work. He started out in Genesis. He was the lead singer of Genesis prior to Phil Collins, and then left to do a solo career. A lot of his work was more experimental, definitely more rock and world music oriented, and frankly, just a little weird, a little left of center. And I think probably the 2 albums that started breaking him through, particularly in the U.S., was Security, which came out in 1982 and had probably the biggest song on the album was Shock the Monkey. And then in 1986, which is what I'm here to talk about, was So. And I guess I didn't even realize, I guess I did talk about that album a lot. I didn't realize how much I annoyed Kelly with, oh my God, So, it's amazing, So. She's like,
yes, that's what I remember.
Okay, so I guess So was my voodoo before voodoo. Rather than talk about it obsessively. But I mean, this is really, this is the original CD I bought. Well, I actually had it on vinyl, and then when CDs, yes, children, they're like, what is this clear thing that she holds up? We don't know what that is. This is called a compact disc. This has stuff on it. In this case, music. See? No. But originally I had vinyl, and then when everything transferred to CD, I went and bought the CD. So I actually bought the album twice. But it really is a no-skip, brilliant album. I think one of the things I love about Peter Gabriel is, first of all, he's a masterful storyteller. He really knows how to set a stage with his lyrics, but then create a mood and ambiance with the music and his arrangement. And it's so meticulous, and it's very, sometimes it could be very vast, and I would argue that's sort of Red Rain, but sometimes it can be also very intimate. A song like "Don't Give Up," the duet he did on the album with Kate Bush, I think sort of represents that. So he can sort of do big and small, loud and soft, and I really like that. Just sort of the variations that he can do, that he's so good at doing on different types of genres, different ways of singing and emoting different feelings. He's such an authentic artist. There's really nothing stale or nothing fake about Peter Gabriel's work, and that definitely comes through. And so, even though So no question is his most successful album, his most commercially successful album, it was a huge monster hit. It went 5 times platinum. It was nominated for a Grammy for Album of the Year. And it really was, and particularly Sledgehammer, which we'll get to as far as the single, but that album was sort of, as Dave put it took him from cult alt rock icon to international superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And really made him big in the United States. But I never want to underestimate, even though, and there are some people who are like, that's his sellout album. There's nothing sellout about So. It is a great album. It stands on its own. It you can play it now and it still sounds fresh and interesting and awe-inspiring, and you're just like, what is that? It has not. I've been listening to it the last few weeks just to prepare for this. It hasn't, in my opinion, it has not aged. And I think someone who knows nothing about Peter Gabriel, if you're out there and you know nothing about Peter Gabriel, definitely check out So. I think it's a great entryway into his music. You will not be disappointed. And Peter Gabriel, I expect a check from you at some point.
I was going to ask when the whole episode of In the 33 and a Third collection is coming out, because you're working on that right now, right?
I am not there, but it's funny because when I pitch Voodoo, they ask you what are some of the books you would like to see in the 33 and a Third collection. And one of the answers I gave was either So or Security. So, and actually there's an open call right now, although it'll probably be closed by the time this airs. Never mind then. But if it doesn't make it this open call, if you're interested in writing about really any 33 and a Third, you should definitely submit to their open call. But definitely there needs to be a 33 and a Third about this album. I don't know if I'm the one to write it, but someone out there who is big or not a bigger.
I'm nominating you.
This needs to be represented in the 33 and a Third canon. So that is no doubt. So we're going to talk about 3 songs. The first song I'm going to talk about is actually the first song on the album. It's titled Red Rain. And interesting enough, I actually think Red Rain is the best song on the album. I love that song. It's my favorite song on the album. Again, I think I was sort of talking about before as far as Peter Gabriel's expansiveness in his the way he sets a musical tableau, and it really is. It feels like you can sort of picture it as you're listening to the music, like time and place, and even if it feels like sort of out of sorts, you're like, oh, it's like you sort of feel like you're in Peter Gabriel's head as you listen to it. And it is it's a beautiful song. It is sort of dark. It's a song where he talks about and alludes to political violence, torture. But even with that, like even particularly with the title Red Rain, you can also tie it to pollution and even climate change. And Peter Gabriel's always had politics sort of be like a through line in his music. I would say So is not as overtly political as, and particularly in Red Rain is not as overtly political as some of his other songs, but it's still there, and you can still you still have to reckon with it. But I just it's a beautiful. I also like the way his voice sounds. I do think Peter Gabriel is sort of underrated as a singer. He has he has a expansive range as a singer, and I love the graveliness in his voice, and you can tell
Mm-hmm.
particularly that he grew up listening to a lot of R&B. And actually that's another thing about the So album. I mean, to me it's definitely like his love letter to R&B music. Maybe more so than some of his earlier albums. And again, we'll touch on that more with the other two songs we're going to talk about. And one quick note about Red Rain is that for those of you who are familiar with the song, like the very beginning of the song, like the hi hat sort of percussion, that like intros the song, that is Stuart Copeland, the virtuoso
Oh.
drummer from the Police,
Mm-hmm.
and he was invited to do that. That the intro of the song, and he also performs on another song in on So as well. But I just thought that that was a cool little sort of tidbit of information that you guys would be interested in.
Great.
We like to look in the liner notes and all that kind of stuff for sometimes the obscure musicians, and that one might have escaped us because
Yeah.
as we looked at it, we didn't really see anybody that we necessarily recognize. But I'm sure there are some people on there. I think David Rhodes is a guitar player that's been on there, and so there are definitely some very accomplished musicians, but just not the ones that we tend to follow a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not going to talk about this song, but this is the picture, the song that he did with Laurie Anderson. Nile Rodgers plays guitar on
Hmm.
that. And
Mhm.
actually, Nile Rodgers, and I didn't know this before doing this podcast, was that Peter Gabriel was actually considering Nile Rodgers to produce So. And I'm like, it's hard to not think like what would So sound like if Nile Rodgers produced it? Would it be funkier? Would it be more soulful? I don't know. I mean that would have been, I mean, particularly when you think of, say, the Let's Dance album from Bowie, like, how,
Right.
like, would it
Right.
have
Mm-hmm.
been something more along those lines, or the
Mm-hmm.
Reflex, the Duran Duran song. So I
Or
don't know. That
Notorious.
exactly, Notorious. I mean, that would have been interesting. But I do think Daniel Lanois, who is known for he's worked with Brian Eno, he's produced U2. He co-produced the album with Peter Gabriel and did a masterful job. So it's hard
Mm-hmm.
to, and, it's such a great album that I don't know if Nile Rodgers frankly could have topped what Daniel Lanois did. So, all credit to him. But yeah, it's always, that is a what if that
Right.
you have to consider when you learn of that information.
Well, I've seen them buried in a sheltered place in this town. They'll tell you that this rain can still never down. There is no blood around, see no sign of pain. Hey, no pain, seeing no rain, don't see no rain. Red rain is coming down. Red rain. Red rain is pouring down. Pouring down.
Okay, Kelly, what's next?
Well, I don't know. What's next, Faith?
Oh, what's next? People were watching this going, "Are y'all okay?" What's next? Well, and it's song 2 on the album, so I guess we're going in chronological order here.
Hmm.
Is the monster hit "Sledgehammer"? It's probably the song that most people know and recognize from So. Probably the song that most people know and recognize as far as Peter Gabriel, his entire discography. It went to the Billboard. It was number one on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. I wasn't able to confirm this, but I think it's a pretty safe bet to say it was Peter Gabriel's biggest single of his career. What is there to say about it? It's, again, a great song. And it's funny because I think it's probably one of those songs you don't think of the word fun necessarily when you think of Peter Gabriel, but Sledgehammer is a super fun song. It's a fun song to listen to and sing along to. It's a glorious metaphor for sex, and it's very tongue in cheek, and that's what's so great about it. And I mean, a lot of that came through in the music video, as well as Kelly's going to allude to in a minute. But just, again, great storytelling, and it's just, the whole thing is just a whole play on words and double entendres, and it just, I mean, it's just really a cool song. And I mean, another sort of musical tidbit, that Wayne Jackson, who plays trumpet in that iconic opener, or that iconic horn section, Wayne Jackson was part of the Memphis Horns that played with Otis Redding. And Peter Gabriel was inspired in part by his Otis Redding, which again, I didn't know until I researched this, is Peter Gabriel's favorite singer, which actually now it all makes sense to me. Like, yeah, okay. And he wanted that sort of Otis Redding feel. And so he invited Wayne Jackson to play on the song. And that shows you the strength and the longevity and brilliance of a piece of music, where if you hear that horn section, you hear that segment of the song, you know what song that is. You're like, right. Oh, that's Sledgehammer. Like, it's that iconic and that familiar. Right. And it's just such a great song that it plays again with the metaphors, but it's not dirty. It's not, it doesn't like offend you, or I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe there were some people who were offended by that, people who have no sense of humor and no life, but but yeah, it's interesting, but not everybody got it. Because I remember back in the day, I was with some friends. We were driving somewhere. We were all teenagers, and Sledgehammer came on the radio, and of course, we were all singing along to it, and all jamming to it. And then I remember I was parking, and one of the friends in the car, when the song was going off, she said, and I appreciate her honesty, but she said, what is he talking about when he means sledgehammer? Like, what is he say? I want to be your sledgehammer. What does that mean? And my friends and I, we just looked at each other like, who's gonna tell her? And it's like, okay, I guess we got to have the talk now. We all learned about sex when we learned about it in different ways. So I'm in no way trying to make fun of her or anything, but it was sort of like mind blowing that, I mean, to me, and I think to a lot of people, it's so obvious. And again, particularly with the music video. And then, so we explained it, and then she was like, well, then what is a fruit cage? Literally in the second verse, open up your fruit cage and I will be your honeybee. So that was Sex Ed 101, brought to you by Peter Gabriel. And a whole bunch of teenagers in a car who felt really weird. But yeah, it's so maybe there are other, I mean, in a weird way, maybe that was like sex education for some people, like particularly younger kids who were like, Mommy, what is a sledgehammer? They probably had to have that conversation too. So in a weird way, it served another purpose. To teach young kids about sex who didn't learn about it any other way. So
yeah,
thank you, Mr. Gabriel. We appreciate that.
Faith, I'll admit it. I was an adult before I learned some of those double entendres in some of the 80s songs. There were a lot of 70s and 80s songs that had them, and we were singing along, and we didn't know what we were singing at the time. So
Yeah,
I'll raise my hand. I'm guilty too. So.
Oh yeah, me as well.
Right.
I was
Okay.
going to say, that horn intro is really what pulled me into the song. I mean, it was the 80s and there was a lot of horns in popular music at the time. Although not so much on the rest of the album, but on that song, it absolutely was a big part of it in that intro. And that certainly pulled me into it. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I was a big Earth, Wind and Fire baby growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And, and Tower of Power is another example. So I love those huge like horns in songs where you're just like,
Right.
oh, damn, okay. Like, come to attention, everyone. It's like the song has begun. So yeah, I dig that, to throw back to that as well. And again, I mean, Peter Gabriel loves R&B music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was saying, like, I think So is sort of his obvious like love letter to R&B artists and R&B musicians. And so so no pun intended,
Yeah.
it makes sense that would be something that would pull in a lot of people. It is a great intro. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it makes you pay attention, like, to the rest of the song, because you're like, well, what is
Right.
this? Okay,
Right.
let me stick around for 4 minutes. So,
Right.
but it really is. It's just such a fun song, like, because it really is a song you could play anywhere: parties, weddings, graduation.
So the question is it invited to the barbecue?
He's invited to my barbecue.
Okay.
I'll just say that. I mean, I can't speak for other Black folks, but
Right.
Gabriel can
So-
come to my barbecue anytime he wants.
Before we
There's
listen
no-
to the song, Kelly, you want to talk a little bit about the video?
Okay, the Sledgehammer video is basically the moment when Peter Gabriel said, let's change music video forever. Virgin Records' Tessa Watts commissioned it, Stephen R. Johnson directed it, and animation magic came from Aardman Animations and the Brothers Quay. It's wild, it's playful, and so endlessly rewatchable. They packed a lot of inventive, funny ideas in there. The whole thing was shot frame by frame. At one point, Gabriel laid under a sheet of glass for 16 hours with raw fish, and he had clouds painted across his face, one frame at a time. Even the dancing headless chickens, yes, the dancing headless chickens, that was early work from Nick Park, the creator of Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, wow.
I know.
It took a lot of hard work, Gabriel recalled. I was thinking at the time, if anyone wants to try to copy this video, good luck. The final scene, with everyone spinning around him, includes his daughters, the animators, the director's girlfriend. In total, they spent 10 hours shooting this video, with 25 unique poses for every second of the video. And the payoff was huge. Sledgehammer became a monster hit on MTV, winning 9 VMAs, still the most of any single video.
Wow.
It has been ranked among the greatest music videos ever made, named MTV's #1 animated video. Overtake on Me. Oh my goodness. And it dominates lists across VH1 and Australian TV. Even nominated for a Soul Train Music Award for Best Video of the Year.
Wow.
Time magazine called it the most played video on MTV in its history. It reached places that didn't play Gabriel's other work, the Soviet Union, India, China, because the visuals were so iconic. The video was eventually remastered in 4K and re-released in 2018. And honestly, it still looks ahead of its time.
Amazing. Let's listen to Sledgehammer.
You could have a steam train if you just lay down your tracks. You could have an aeroplane flying if you bring your blue sky back. All you do is call me. I'll be anything you need.
right. Faith, what's next?
Well, before I get to what's next, I do want to piggyback a little bit on the Sledgehammer conversation that we were having. Yeah, that was, in addition to being a great song, it is an amazing, groundbreaking video that, again, you could watch it now and it's like, whoa, that's so cool. And I think Peter Gabriel was not just ahead of his time as a musician; he was also ahead of his time as a music video artist. Because I think when people think music video, they think Michael Jackson, they think Madonna, they think Duran Duran. And sometimes I do think Peter Gabriel sort of gets left out of the conversation, and he really shouldn't be, because he was always sort of forward thinking as far as visual storytelling, in addition to his
No,
music.
yeah.
I mean, even in his
You see
live
that in Shock the Monkey. Yeah,
did it
you
with,
see
yeah,
that.
exactly. Did it with
Yeah.
Shock the Monkey, and even in his live performances, he would wear makeup and come out in costume, and I mean, in a lot of ways, Peter Gabriel was like a performance artist. He was a performance artist that was also a rock star. And again, it's like people, you hear that and people think Bowie, and it's like, yes, but it was also Peter Gabriel. And I just wanted to shout that out because I think he sort of doesn't get his props as far as having that kind of ideation and then bringing people along with him to flesh out that work. I mean, he was all, Peter Gabriel was all in music videos. At the perfect time, at the peak of MTV, when you had other artists who were like, okay, I'll make a music video just to sell the song. He wasn't just selling the record; like, he treated that as its own outlet for artistry and creativity. And so, we got to dap up Peter Gabriel on the musical video, on the music video tips.
Before we get to the last song, I do want to bring up a topic, and Faith, I'm probably putting you on the spot, Kelly too, about Peter Gabriel's latest work. It's 2026, and he's coming out with a new album this year. So
what's the news? I actually didn't know that.
So we do a thing for Friday's New Music Friday, and I think we had his song on recently for that. I think he's releasing one song a month. So by the end of the year, the album will be out. So that is a little bit of a nudge to people. But it's also interesting that here's a guy that, we said he hit the absolute pinnacle of his career in 1986. So 40 years later, he's still innovating and creating new music. And, there are people, and I'm, Kelly and I are kind of two of them that say, well, the best music was between 1975 and 1985 and all that, right? But it's amazing because we're still developing new music, still some really good music. So our message to our audience is stay tuned. We'll probably be playing some more of his songs as the year goes by on some of our social media channels. So anyway, I just wanted to interject that because it's kind of a fun thing. So, some of the artists that we profile, they're done in terms of, introducing new things, but Peter Gabriel's still, creating, evolving, and making some really interesting music for us all. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out. And yeah, he hasn't stopped making music. I mean, obviously, he's not making it probably in the same time frames that he did when he was younger. I mean, he's I guess he's got to be like 76 now. Yeah, but I mean, still, it's just it's great to see someone still feeling that burning of, I still have something to say. I still have music to put out there.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's always a great thing to know, when that great artists are still making work. So. Yep. So the third and final song we're gonna talk about, and again, I could talk about the whole album, but we would be here all day. Y'all would probably turn like, okay, we can't listen to this Faith chick anymore. Please stop. Stop talking. Because really the whole album is amazing. So, find it, like, get it. Don't just stream it. Like, actually buy the thing, y'all. Like, buy the album. Don't just be like, it's on Spotify. Yeah. Anyway, like, give him some coin. Let's do this. So the song I was going to talk about is Big Time which was another single off the album. It reached the top 10 in the US. Again, very sort of like Sledgehammer, sort of tongue-in-cheek, some level of metaphor. I mean, basically, it's a satire of materialism, of capitalism, consumerism, and not just in sort of the world, but also within the music industry. And also, I mean, it is Peter Gabriel sort of poking fun at himself, as far as he was sort of the avant-garde performance artist who, I am a true musician. I am not just here to make money, blah, blah, blah. But then he started thinking, well, maybe I am here to be sort of famous. I mean, sort of reckoning with that. So, I mean, and I think a lot of musicians that, make it big, that really, sort of hit the big time, if you will, they sort of have to like balance that out of, okay, how much of my true artistry am I eroding to get paid and or to be on MTV or to sell out stadiums. And I think he was sort of dealing with that too. And so it wasn't just him pointing a finger at us, at other people, but also pointing it back to himself to say, yeah, you're part of this too, sir. Right. And I think it is an interesting treatise on, sort of self-worth as based on bank account, based on job title, and a lot of things. And again, this was the 80s, the sort of go-go Reaganomics, greed is good decade that we came up in. If you're not familiar with what greed is good is, it's a line from the Oliver Stone film Wall Street. Michael Douglas's character, Gordon Gekko, says it in this pivotal scene. Weirdly enough, again, Wall Street was supposed to be a critique of capitalism and sort of the titans of industry. Some people didn't get that message, and greed is good actually became a catchphrase. Mm-hmm. So among certain parts of society, and it was not looked down on. They were like, yeah, greed is good. Yes. And you're like, no, that wasn't what Oliver Stone was trying to say. Mm-hmm. And then, and particularly, I mean, we're talking about the Sledgehammer video. I was watching the music video, again, sort of to prepare for this, and my jaw sort of dropped at how not only relevant it is today, almost prophetic. Because there's certain pieces of imagery in that video where you're like, holy crap, he basically predicted the last 10 years. Mm. So I'll just leave it at that, because there's a certain person.
We're not going to go there.
With a certain head of state in a certain country. I mean, it's like he wrote the song about this certain person. I'm just like, oh my God. Peter Gabriel tried to tell us, y'all.
So did The Simpsons, but we still didn't listen. So.
Oh, well,
whatever.
Yeah, right? And Michael Moore, Sleep Now in the Fire, another video you should see. There's one key scene in that Rage Against the Machine video. They also tried to tell us, so. And the end of the Big Time video, too. No, seriously, watch the video. Find the video. Your mind will be blown. It's a crazy video, but I was screaming at the TV going, what? How did you know? Again, another example of Peter Gabriel taking the work seriously, not just as a musical artist, but also as a music video artist. Like he did not shun one to prop up the other. So he really, I mean, again, I know people say, oh, so-and-so is ahead of his time. I think in a lot of ways, Peter Gabriel was ahead of his time. And as I teased before, the drummer on the song was one Stuart Copeland.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's listen to Big Time. All right, Kelly.
That's it for us today. Thank you so much to Faith for joining us and sharing her thoughts on So. Conversations like this are why we love doing this podcast so much. The music hits different when you hear it through someone else's ears. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so you'll never miss a groove. And come hang out with us on socials. We're on Blue Sky, Twitter X, and Instagram. Your support keeps this community growing and going. And remember,
it's not the beat, it's the groove. Thanks for listening.
Bye.